Think of all the social movements we've experienced over the last decade or so. The women's movement, #MeToo, Black Lives Matter, as well as all the educational movements that draw attention to diseases or an issue. The Ice Bucket Challenge, which was an adaptation of jumping into cold water in the early 1990s, and morphed into pouring a bucket of ice over oneself or assisting another to raise money for an awareness to ALS, the motor neuron disease, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Another example is the Australian-born Movember movement, which is now global, raising funds for men's health that has been going strong since 2003. The actual impetus of that movement was raising money and awareness for breast cancer, which occurs the month before in October. Movember began with 2 blokes convincing 10 other blokes to grow a then outdated male fashion statement, a mustache, and to bring awareness to prostate cancer, which now includes all areas of men's health as it grew globally. All of these efforts have a purpose, and all of them spread fairly quickly, initially through friend networks, but more recently due to our improved capability of sharing instantly with our friends, acquaintances, and even strangers, as the internet and social media have become the new norm for information and actually communication. We have even applied vocabulary with new meanings, a social media influencer, going viral, indicating a positive meaning to a not-so-positive word, posting on a platform, and many, many more. All of the earlier movements are attached to some kind of fundraising to keep the awareness alive and to provide resources to sustain that movement. This is not a new concept. The Salvation Army is built upon the concept of Christian charitable giving, and we see that clearly with the red kettles on corners or in front of stores during the holidays, which they have now adapted to a red kettle online with a kickoff this year with Dolly Parton. The Salvation Army dates back to 1865 in London and has adapted to current methods while still keeping its tradition of the red kettle. Author and speaker Derek Feldman provides an expert opinion about social movements for good in the online resource Philanthropy Impact. He shares, and I quote, "In its plainest form, a social movement for good is a group of people working together for a common social, political, or cultural goal. Whatever the focus, all movements require one key element to be transformed from an idea of a few to an idea of many, and simply that is people. People create change when they bond together for a common purpose. And interestingly enough, the common purpose need actually not be a single thing, but a collective effort toward a common goal, which opens the gate to a lot of creativity." Welcome to Small and Gutsy, our podcast featuring nonprofits and social impact organizations under $10 million. My name is Dr. Laura Witkoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. We hope you'll love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. And for all of you followers, Small and Gutsy has just been granted nonprofit 501c3 status. We are thrilled to have moved in this direction, enabling us to continue to meet our vision of interviewing as many smaller nonprofits and social impact organizations as we can. So please pass along any valuable information you hear today to others and send me the name of any organization you'd like featured at lwitkoff@gmail.com. That's 2 T's and 2 F's. What if you could financially support a nonprofit organization doing what you personally believe contributes to making the world a better place without actually spending even a dime? Sounds too good to be true. But this time, it's too good and very true. There's something in algorithmic data collection and internet savviness that makes even the most limited math student, me, understand the value of building a network of folks with shared values that frankly has the potential to become a huge movement, and a huge movement with a charitable framework and underpinnings. Give Freely is that movement. Give Freely is a browser extension designed to connect consumers with sellers, and that connection leads to a donation to a charity of the consumer's choice. Pretty darn creative, to say the least. Give Freely transforms online shopping into acts of kindness. They find coupons and redirect commissions from purchases directly to the user's chosen charity, turning everyday buys into charitable actions. Give Freely's mission is to generate as many donations to nonprofit organizations as possible. They do this by leveraging the commissions that online stores pay them when users buy something at a partner site, as well as occasionally placing advertisements on the site that users may visit. Give Freely is a pioneering movement for a more compassionate shopping future by blending shopping and giving. Frankly, two of my favorite activities, and for me, it makes shopping more enjoyable knowing that it includes a charitable aspect. And even more recently, not enjoying shopping is now giving me a reason to do my errands. They believe that everyday online errands can and should involve contributions to the communities the consumer cares about. And this, of course, could lead to other everyday acts. They are just starting with shopping. Currently, they have over 10,000 participating stores and a dozen or so influencers participating in and spreading Give Freely. And they have over 1 million nonprofits listed. Small and Gutsy is actually one of them. What's so exciting about this is we are at the very beginning and can be part of spreading this movement. I am so honored and excited to introduce my guest today, Steve Kaufer, who is the brainchild behind Give Freely and an industry trailblazer. You know him best because he transformed our travel experience and the entire travel landscape by creating TripAdvisor, that little-known shared travel network, and it wasn't always an easy road. As the co-founder and CEO of this globally renowned platform, Steve's vision and leadership propelled it to become the most popular travel site on the internet. I know for me, it's my go-to. Always a committed philanthropist, Steve is now focused on a mission to simplify and amplify the art of giving back. He firmly believes in the profound impact of collective actions by large communities, stemming from small individual efforts. At TripAdvisor, he mobilized millions of contributors to leave reviews, enriching the experience of over 1 billion travelers. Enormous. With Give Freely, every purchase becomes a small act of generosity, and that, when aggregated, holds immense potential for positive global change. I just love that. Steve's goal is to spark a generosity movement. I hope, Steve, you think about trademarking that. A generosity movement. I just love that. Transforming everyday actions into meaningful contributions around the world. He was recently written up in the Boston Globe, and I know that is only the beginning. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Steve's co-founder and CTO, Brendan Buono, a dynamic and seasoned leader who has over a decade of rich experience in the tech industry. He made a notable impact at Amazon Pharmacy as the head of pharmaceutical pricing technology, spearheading innovative solutions to make medications more affordable. His versatile expertise also extends to the other sectors through his experience at Lovepop and DraftKings. So let's get started. Welcome, Steve. I'd really love to hear the story behind Give Freely, what inspired you for this next entrepreneurial trek into combining purchasing and giving. So welcome. Thank you so much for being on Small and Gutsy.
Oh, Laura, it's my pleasure. Thank you for that very kind introduction.
So tell me a little bit of the history of, everybody knows you from TripAdvisor. You were on How I Built This with Guy Raz, which if anyone hasn't heard it, it's a fabulous listen as far as I'm concerned. What brought you to the place of Give Freely?
I knew I wanted to do something new, something different, but honestly, I left TripAdvisor. I didn't know what that would be. And so I spent several months thinking about, hey, what I want to do, what kind of impact could I have? I have to say, TripAdvisor is a pretty high bar when it comes to impact. 400 million visitors each and every month. It impacted people all around the globe. I'm like, great company, super global, impacted a lot of people's lives, and on the consumer side, and of course, tons of businesses.
And that was a little bit of a roller coaster. It didn't just magically happen, which I also want folks to know, because your experience of having that roller coaster puts you in a prime position to create a movement like Give Freely.
Yeah, and TripAdvisor was kind of my third startup, and that was the one that took off. We almost went out of business in the early years. Tough trying to find the business model, but wow, when it took off, It really did. And that magic of finding how an entire site could be built based upon users or travelers being willing to contribute their own time and their own effort writing the reviews. And some of us in the beginning thought, what a crazy idea. No one's going to write a review unless they're really upset about something. Not true at all. People
Mm-hmm.
love writing very
Mm-hmm.
happy, great travel trip reviews. It's a bit of a magical business model when you can get your travelers to write the content that everyone else wants to read, compared to the newspaper business where rightfully you pay reporters to cover the news. Here, we weren't paying anyone to produce the travel content, the reviews and the photos and the tips and the forum responses. So I had a lot of firsthand experience seeing how big a business could get in so many different languages based upon people's willingness to donate some of their time to something they cared about, which is, hey, paying it forward, helping somebody. So we would ask, because obviously we never paid reviewers, we would ask them, why did they choose to write a review? And the biggest answer was to pay it forward. They're being generous with their time to help an anonymous stranger out there. So, getting back to the question of, well, what was I going to be doing next? Well, what could I think of that could possibly have impact? Building a community, building a movement, figuring out a way to tap into the good nature that I believe most of us have all around the world, and now how to leverage that for a greater good. In this case, not travel, but for helping those causes people care about, those people less fortunate than ourselves. And when I started to think about uh, an area I know a lot about, the e-commerce category, I'm like, hey, there's lots of for-profit businesses that uh, that make their money by helping to connect you with a store. Take Google, our favorite search engine. Okay, well, it's helping you learn something and it's answering the query of, well, where can I go to buy this thing I'm looking for? And that's how Google makes their billions of dollars, whether you're looking for car insurance or a sweater or a hotel or whatever. Uh, you often start on Google, do a search. Okay, so I wasn't going to go build another search engine, but there is this kind of affiliate network, is what it's called out there, where lots of stores will happily pay an intermediary to get somebody to their store to buy whatever they're selling. And if you can be that connector, like Google, then there's an affiliate commission involved. The store is paying you a success fee, if you will. Excellent. So now, if I can turn that success fee, the commission, into a donation to a cause that a user cares about, and I can do that at scale for tens or hundreds of millions of people all around the globe, that's a really, really big pot of money that I'm not interested in, but the user would love that money to go to the cause that they care the most about. And that's where the idea of Give Freely was born. And we're at the, as you pointed out in the intro, super early days of trying to build something, which as a multi-time entrepreneur, I'm really excited about.
And making that happen, I have to say, as somebody who's signed up personally for it, and then obviously put Small and Gutsy as the charity, super easy. Now, I recognize that it's only on a desktop and not mobile quite yet, but that will come. I love the story of this because you not only used your past experience in the technical world and in the business world, but you also used your actual experience of human nature. And that combination is so winning. It really is how, I interview so many nonprofits, and it is so about their passion for giving back, and their struggle, because I focus on the much smaller ones, right? Their struggle about how can we sustain this because the need is so great. And you've created a model for potential sustainability in the long haul, and to potentially a huge network and a lot of money that could go to nonprofits. And the other piece I just want to point out is, just like TripAdvisor in this way, you're allowing the consumer, the user, to choose where it goes, where that money goes. And so they have investment both in their whatever they're going to shop for anyway, right? And in their choice. And so you've really put the power in their hands in all of those areas. And I really appreciate that. It's something that I don't think has been done in the same way before.
Thanks.
Really
Let me, if I could take a moment to just kind of paint a little picture for the end user, because
please.
everyone I've spoken to is like, wow, sounds good. But then well, what's the catch? What do I have to remember? I remember that Amazon Smile thing, which sounded great, but gosh, I could never remember to go to smile.amazon.com, which was the rule. We can talk more about Amazon Smile later if you want. With Give Freely, you're on your laptop or your desktop computer. You can go to the site, click the download button, or go to the what's called the Chrome store and find it. It literally takes about 60 seconds to install. Click the download button. You have to say, yes, I agree to install this on my browser. Of course, that's why you're doing it. Our registration pops up and asks you, what's your first name? What's your last name? What's your email address? And what's your favorite charity? And whether you're giving us permission to share your name and email with the charity you've selected. And you can turn that off if you don't want it. But obviously the charity is quite interested, because we'll talk about in a bit, that donor cultivation is pretty interesting. 60 seconds, you're done. Now, as a user, what do you have to remember? Nothing. You just
Right.
If you're using that browser, you might wonder, hey, where's Give Freely? I'm like, you're just sitting in the background until you go to a partner store. You go to a partner store, you'll see a little indication that, hey, this is a partner store. It's not annoying. But then if you actually put something in your shopping cart, you go to buy this thing, whatever the store is selling. Let's just imagine it's a sweater. Hey, I actually like the sweater. I put it in my cart. Now a pop-up box appears that says, if Small and Gutsy is your charity, it'll say, would you like to donate, and I'm making up the number, 3% would you like the store to donate 3% to Small and Gutsy? And what's happening is that particular store has promised to pay me 3% of any transaction that happens. I'm turning around and offering Small and Gutsy 100% of that money. And then the final piece is, if that store, that sweater store, happened to be running a sale with a coupon code, well, we've probably found that coupon code essentially from the internet somewhere. And if we have a coupon, we'll pop up a box saying, hey, do you want us to check to see whether this coupon works? And let's say it's a 10% off coupon. Give Freely and Small and Gutsy don't get any piece of that. That's literally $10 less that you're putting on your credit card, with the 3% donation still happening to Small and Gutsy.
I do think what's wonderful is that there aren't those extra steps for the end user. You've made it so easy. And the fact that 100% of that commission goes back is remarkable. So it begs two questions, but I want to first go with your inclination that, will there be the end that the nonprofit can go and see how that's operating for them? That hasn't been set up yet, right? Or it is about to.
So by the time you're listening to this, you will be able, as a nonprofit, to go to givefreely.com, go to our nonprofit section. It's a claim your nonprofit notion, where you say, hey, I'm an authorized representative of this nonprofit. You click, you can see exactly how many people on our network have chosen you as a charity. For the people who have said, yes, share my info, We have a list of who those people are and how to contact them, their email address. You might well want to share with your supporters, hey, it's kind of sad Amazon Smile went away. Here's a great replacement, works on 10,000 stores. Follow this link and download the extension, which is a slightly easier step than go to Give Freely and download the extension, because when you follow the link, it'll be pre-configured to support your charity. To be clear, the user, like with Amazon Smile, can always change the charity at any point, but it just makes it a little easier during the setup. We ask for the name, email address, don't have to ask for the charity, and then it's do you give permission to share the name? And then the final piece of that charity portal, in addition to some marketing toolkits and other suggestions we have as to ways to spread the word, is the ability, once you have a number of users, to message those users through the interface.
I noticed on the website that you have maybe 12 to 15 influencers, which I think is a really wonderful way to leverage folks who already have a huge following to think about encouraging their followers to sign up for Give Freely. So can you talk a little bit about how that idea emerged?
Sure. First off, we're not in the business of paying influencers to promote.
Right, which is, thank you for saying that. That's great.
I mean, it's just other businesses can do that. We kind of believe that we want the influencers, we call them ambassadors, to want to talk about Give Freely because it's a cool thing that everyone can do, and it's that kind of building a movement. So these are all volunteers. The number is more than what's on the website now. I haven't gotten to list the kind of more and more. Basically every day the number is growing, and I expect that one page to be tens and then hundreds of pages long. If you have a motivation to share the good, help be an early adopter in this movement, that's a really cool usage of social media.
It's really what you coined the generosity movement, is you are trying to shift our culture. And we give back any way we have historically, but doing it in this way monumentally may shift our culture from more of an individualistic culture to a collectivist, which I think is a phenomenal, larger, macro goal. But it really is, it's a remarkable way to move forward. I'm wondering, because you want this to be sustainable and 100% goes back to the charity of whatever those commissions are, how will you sustain the infrastructure of Give Freely?
I have a plan for that. It's a great question. I have a plan for that, and then I have a backup plan for that.
I love it.
So I love being able to share with the community that we're building that all of the money I'm making from the purchases is going to your cause, 100%. And I have a lot of entrepreneurial roots, so I am investing in growing this business. First, prove it to be successful, then prove it to be super successful, scale it globally, and like big ambitions. I'm funding it all myself right now. Very happy to do that. It's money that otherwise would have gone to, my favorite philanthropic causes. But, let's say I'm investing a few $1 million right now. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I think, well, instead of giving that couple $1 million to the worthwhile cause, what if I could invest it and Give Freely and generate 100 times that level of donation? And that's that's what I'm angling for. And instead of it being a one-time donation in calendar this year, I want it to be generating an annual donation to all these different charities. So for me,
for many years to come, because you're creating sustainability through that model.
Exactly,
it's great.
Exactly. So like the prize is really, really big. And then I'm not ducking your question. I'm getting right to it now. Like,
no,
and how are you going to pay for that when you have a team of 100 or 300 or 500 people? Because we have something a plugin in your browser that's offering this shopping. We also have the ability to add some advertising along on some of the sites that you're visiting, which don't relate to the purchase, but maybe on a hypothetical basis, I put an ad up on Amazon because they're not a partner right now. And what I do is I say, hey, you're looking at buying this router on Amazon. You can buy the same router over at our partner store, Walmart. Click here. That's an ad because it's saying click here to go over to Walmart. Walmart is a partner. If you buy the router on Walmart, money goes to your charity. No change there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Walmart will also pay me for the click from Amazon to go over to Walmart. And that money might only be 10 cents for the click. At scale, builds an advertising
Mm-hmm.
business for me. The backup plan is simply, look, there's a number of philanthropists that have asked, hey, we'd love to invest in your business, Steve. I'm like, well, I'm a for-profit company that never intends to make a profit.
We call that a social impact
Social
organization.
impact
That's why we
organization. Yes.
that's why we interview you. It's fabulous because we need more of those.
I have to prove that the model can scale to be like November or Giving Tuesday or the big kind of movement bases. But once that, then there's an easy path.
I wonder too, is obviously the smaller the purchase, the smaller that commission piece is for the charity. So I'm sure you've been thinking about this because it was on your website. Anyways, I was reading some of the information, which is you're starting with shopping, and shopping might be the everyday errands or things that people need or want or whatever. And then there could be the luxury products that people buy. And then there could be the trips people take or the airline flights or the bigger ticket items. Or there could be even other things like memberships to things. So I'm sort of would love to hear your thoughts about how big could you imagine that going? Because then that 3% or whatever the percentage is that goes to the charity obviously becomes bigger as well.
Yes, I mean, so you already have sites like Priceline and TripAdvisor and Viator as partners. You want to go spend $1,000 and on an amazing excursion sold by TripAdvisor for a private boat rental for a dozen people in the Caribbean, $2,000. Great. Well, that might be a 7% commission item, and you've just generated $70. Congratulations. So that's already there. You want to go buy, auto insurance. The plus side is yes, the dollar figures are much bigger. The downside is much less frequent purchases.
What have been some of the challenges or barriers that you have faced? Because to me, this is a no-brainer. It's easy. You've made it so easy for the end user, for somebody who is an executive director of a tiny charity. This is so easy too. I realize getting the word out is sort of can be a big challenge to an extent. But in terms of partners, I would think every store would say, "Oh, this is because commission is still the same. It's that hasn't changed." I'd love to hear some of the challenges or the barriers that you faced.
Building the technology, it's actually relatively straightforward. It's been done before. Some of your listeners may already be familiar with Honey or Rakuten
Mm-hmm.
shopping. Uh, and there's a lot of these browser plugins that will help find coupons or save you money. Our twist is obviously, and instead of those companies keeping most of that commission that they're getting paid, we're giving it all away. And obviously, we feel it's a huge differentiator. But truly, if an individual is more interested in putting, $10 back in their pocket, then they might be better off, using a Rakuten or a Honey than $30 going to charity. The challenge at this point for Give Freely is truly one of awareness. Right now, you can only give to 501c3 charities. That's not a law. That's not a rule. That's just my policy decision saying I don't want to, at the moment, allow the platform to be used to generate political donations. I don't want it to be used to fund hate groups, for God's sake. There's a set of downsides that I want to think carefully about. But just because the US uses a 501c3 style, well, great. What does the UK use? Great. I'll adopt what that can. Like, so for every country that has an accredited method, super, it's not trivial, but it's super easy for me to just, great, I'll go list all those organizations as well.
I think that's so wise because there is the dark side of the web where there can be infused areas if you don't manage it. And I think you've done a great job of saying, look, this is a policy issue. And I think it has a lot of merit and respect because what I think you're also trying to do, it's my guess, is to build trust with the user who's downloading this extension and saying, I trust Give Freely to actually do what it says it's going to do and bring me the nonprofits that are legitimate nonprofits at this point within a boundary that they've created. And so you're building a trusted network to and you've got to fulfill your piece of that contract.
Some of us have seen the stories of GoFundMe campaigns that unfortunately aren't legit. And it's a great platform. It really is. It's tremendous. And I'm not letting the one or two bad apples spoil the entire crop. I'm not to say I won't add other vetted by me causes down the road that don't happen to be 501c3 charities, but no need to at the moment.
Right. And I do think you want that level of trust to be built and confirmed before you go to the next. So I think you're incredibly wise and thoughtful in your approach. Any aha moments for you during this process?
I'll give you a handful on the plus and the minus side. On the plus side, like every single person, without exception, that I've shared the idea with or I pointed them to Give Freely said, like, wow, great idea. Not a single person has said, no, I don't want that. I wouldn't use that. That's a pretty good market test fit. The is, when I posted on my Facebook and LinkedIn channels, lots of people that know me, lots and lots of people saying, hey, great, thanks, love it, wonderful comments. And most of the people that commented did not install Give Freely. And these are people that know me. These are like, there's a relationship there. And I don't think they were being disingenuous. I think they're just busy. It's not making it to the top 10 things on my to-do list. Appropriately, it's like, it's not a top 10 thing you need to do now. So my challenge is overcoming the inertia of, it sounds great, but I'll do it later eventually. And then I've been surprised at with a number, I'll leave them unnamed, large charities, nonprofits that have expressed interest, like, why not? And everyone feels the whole of Amazon Smile. Amazon Smile was not a double-digit percentage of any charity's income, but everyone noticed when it went away. And so, hey, I'm like Amazon Smile, except 10,000 stores instead of just one, and it's free. And I'm giving you the charity, the username, if they allow me. And if they don't allow me, I'm still giving the messaging, all the stuff we talked about. And the number of big charities have said, yeah, sounds great. And, never got around to.
But this has been more with the charitable organizations, not necessarily with the partner organizations, the stores, or has that also been with the stores as well?
A great question. I'm super lucky with the stores because there's actually another company that we partnered with that already had signed up 10,000 stores. And their business model is like, hey, they sign up the stores and then they give us access to the stores. I am just one of their clients, but it would have taken me years to launch Give Freely if I had to go store by store and do this level of sign up. So I get to start with 10,000. I can grow my own. So if another store wants to sign up, great, happy to have them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really, I'd love Amazon to be clear.
I was just going to ask you. You just took that question out of my.
But
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
they're not signing up on any of these platforms. I'm nothing if not persistent. So I will be, when I
Mm-hmm.
have some more scale, I'll be asking Amazon. Well, I guess
Mm-hmm.
I start by begging Amazon, then asking Amazon, and then showing Amazon that, look, if you're not willing to be a partner, I'm going to have people that are on your store and I'm going to send them over to another store. And that's going to be bad for your business. But by the way, Amazon, this is for charity. It's not to make
Right.
me more profitable. I'll even say Amazon is helping generate this. And it can be 0.5%. It doesn't have to be. I'm rehearsing those
I think
arguments.
it'll be super. I love it. I think it'll be super interesting to see when you grow to scale that it'll be Amazon knocking on your door, not the other way around. We'll
We'll
see.
see. I'm preparing my
That's
arguments
my
well in
wish.
advance, but certainly a store I want to get on board.
I love it. But I'm really, this has been just a wonderful, delightful conversation about something that's a seed that is already spread and will continue to. I have absolutely no doubt. And I'm excited to be part of it, both as a consumer and a user and as a nonprofit, that no matter how small, and I do want to put this plug out there, is you accept any 501c3. And it's super easy because I did it myself. And I'm a tiny, tiny, tiny nonprofit.
Actually, a good opportunity because I invite everyone who's listening, if they're part of a nonprofit and they post on their social media handles, tag us or send me an email directly, and we will repost on our handles as well. So spreading the news of your existence.
And I'm going to plan on sharing with all of my previous interviewees who are nonprofits to do this for them, not for Small and Gutsy, but for them, because that's part of my charge too, is to raise the visibility. In my case, it's the smaller nonprofits. That's the ones that are under 10 million. So I love this for its, pebble in a pond ripple effect, which I think is just the beginning of something that is going to be remarkable. And my understanding, and we may have already covered this, but it will be mobile at some
In
point.
Q1, we expect to launch our iPhone version.
Then there's no excuse for those folks on Facebook and LinkedIn who have not already signed up. But I also had another thought about that because I'm a consultant and of course my little head spins a little bit. Is I think there's such a difference between posting something, and some people do click through, and Instagram probably is the best example of advertisers. Before it was just post a picture of your dog or your cat or what you're doing. And now every other Instagram, it's almost getting too much, is an ad, is a sponsored ad. I understand it. But there's some good products and good things occasionally that come out of that. But I also wonder, for those folks who you have a personal relationship with, would it be different if you sent them a personal note? Because I reposted yours and I don't know that anyone downloaded. And then I sent a few personal emails and those folks did. So I don't know.
Without a doubt, the personal touch is going to be way more effective because it's just human nature. I'm like, no, Laura, no thanks. I'm like, A, that's not how you feel. And
Right.
B, hey, you're you're disappointing a friend. So I'm like, that's not going to happen. Uh, and I can absolutely do that. And I would then get hundreds more installs. But I do have to think, or the way I approach the problem is like, what would make one of my friends in turn send out an email to their
Send
friends?
it to,
And
I
I don't
agree.
have a good
Yep.
answer yet. I'd love to build some gamification or some team building. Hey, this cause, or in my wild dreams, it would be, you know, hey, Boston Red Sox fans, let's all go beat the Yankees because they each have the team charities and we want to raise more. We want to get more signups in support of the Dana-Farber than whatever the Yankees' favorite charity is. So like massive people coming to ball games and all being told about it. And I have no idea how to do that, but those things have scale.
And to make it into sort of a game or a challenge or a competition a little bit is a wonderful way, and so many organizations have been able to do that. So I wonder if you have a QR code or you set one up, it might be an easy way. That just a thought.
Yeah.
You're talking about it because again, you've made it so easy. The generosity movement, there's something to that. It feels good. Give freely feels good. It is the bigger macro is we are having a generosity movement. Get on board.
Yep.
There's something with
I hope
that.
so.
I don't know.
Yep.
It resonates strongly with me. Yeah, for sure. So if you're ready for our quick and gutsy questions, I'm ready.
All right. Ready.
What is at the top of your wish list for Give Freely? And the answer, because it isn't money or funding, maybe the answer isn't adding more users. I want to make it a little more challenging for you. What is at the top of your wish list?
It's a great question. And like a charity would say funding, I would say users. So I'm not allowed to say that. I would say a viral spread, that there's a bunch of ways that I can advertise, market, get new users, tried and true, expensive. I want to get some free ones, like recruiting influencers, that sort of stuff. But wow, does the game completely change when I can get the spread to be like Giving Tuesday. I look at and say, oh my gosh, 13 years ago, it did not exist. And now it looks like it is generating
It's a great
billions
example.
of dollars in incremental benefit because they created a movement where stores, other companies would like do their version of it without, frankly, any help or assistance, maybe a one-size-fits-all toolkit from the Giving Tuesday organization. A great organization, but it just took off. So how do
Yeah.
I jumpstart some level of this thing moving without me driving it?
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting because in my intro, I didn't include Giving Tuesday. And I think I didn't include it because I think Giving Tuesday has taken on the idea of a holiday in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's remarkable. And that's what becoming viral can actually do. So, what makes Give Freely gutsy? Because you're certainly gutsy.
For better or for worse, I I just have really big ambitions for this. I can think of no strategic reason why we shouldn't be able to get to 100 million users. Plenty of tactical reasons why that may not be achieved. But 100 million users is $1 billion a year, at least, each and every year. Okay, that's impact. Like, cool. Yeah.
That's a lofty goal. That's a gutsy goal, I'd say. So, what is something that outsiders and maybe even a few insiders don't know about Give Freely?
We're a bit unique as an organization. While we hope to have massive scale, I'd love to keep it a small organization. From some experience, it's a pain to manage a big organization. And so, how can we grow in a way that is more through self-service, more through me providing the best, me being Give Freely, providing the best practices, the toolkits, and then let everyone else figure out the best ways that they can spread the word.
If you could get one celebrity or an additional influencer that you haven't, tackled yet to talk about, celebrate, Give Freely, put it on their social media platforms, who might that be?
So if you don't know Mr. Beast, he's a YouTube
That's great. Okay.
phenomenal I think it's like 300 million subscribers, some like completely outrageous amount, super philanthropic as an individual. There's Mr. Beast philanthropy. In total undeserved manner, he's taken some heat for like being very philanthropic, but not solving the world's philanthropic problems. I'm like, oh, come on, give the guy a break. He's phenomenal. And he has a massive audience that he could choose to explain what Give Freely is and why this would help. And again, he already gives away a ton of money, and this would be a way for him to make it go further. Number two is probably Oprah, just because like, okay, big reach, very different audience.
But equally as influential, if not more, for sure.
Yeah, maybe Taylor Swift should be another one on the list.
Yeah, I was just right. So can you reach out to the Beast, Oprah and Taylor Swift? I don't know, but what about?
Yes. I mean, the answer is I'm not shy, and the question is, where can I find a good connection? Know somebody who knows somebody who knows one of these individuals.
So, what is the best way for folks to reach you?
The easiest to remember is go to givefreely.com and hit the contact button. I offer my email, SKAUFER @givefreely.com. Feel free to email me directly. I will be responding personally.
So I just want to take a moment and thank you, Steve, for your in-depth kind of history of how this came about, the passion that you have for really, in my mind, changing the world, having a huge impact, which I believe it will. It's not that it may, it will. And to be on Small and Gutsy. Because we're one of those tiny organizations.
It's an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you, Laura, and I hope I genuinely hope it turns out to be a useful session for your listeners, and they can benefit from what we're doing, because that's what we're in business for.
All of the Small and Gutsy episodes can be found on the Intrinsic Group website, which has a Small and Gutsy page. The opinions and viewpoints expressed by our guests are independent and do not reflect the position of Small and Gutsy. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. We just want you to learn about the Small and Gutsy nonprofit and social impact organizational sector so they can spread their story and their impactful work. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, my brilliant sound engineer and composer, Pavel Franson, my very talented graphic designer, Nate Addy. Please check out their bios on the Intrinsic website. My incredible board of directors, Tracy Brown, John Gatto, Lucy Mello, Serena Rajabian, who believed in me and this project enough so to sign on to support this effort, and all of the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. A very special thank you to my biggest champion, number one fan, and best friend, without whom none of this would be possible. Thanks, Mark Witkoff. Thanks for being there. And thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, give us some stars, and write a review on wherever you listen to podcasts. From small and gutsy to big with impact, I'm Laura Witkoff. Thanks for listening.